Kortivada. In this video, we will learn about content child and content children decorator. Before going to content child and content children, please try to understand about content projection, which I have explained in my previous videos, so that you will be understanding what is content child and content children very easily. So let me quickly jump into Visual Studio Code. Here I have an application which is created with the content projection where I am using a app child, which is a child component, and I'm using that selector. I'm passing some dynamic content which is like HTML into my child component from my parent component, and this type of sending the data from parent to child is called as a content projection. I'm accessing this HTML content by using some selectors, that is by using a tag called as ngContent. ngContent is a tag which is provided by Angular, and I have deeply explained about this ngContent in my previous video. Please watch that for better understanding, and also I'll provide the link in the description. So now what we'll do is we'll try to access the template variables which are defined in our parent. For example, I have a template variable with the hash as content projection. I have something like hash, and if we want to access this hash variable inside our app.component.ts, then we can go with a view child. So for example, if you want to access a element from its own component, then we can use view child. I have explained about the view child and view children in my previous videos. I'll provide the link in the description. Please watch that for better understanding about the view child. Now what we'll do is we'll go with content child. So whenever you are passing some template variables from your parent to the child, if you want to access that template variables in your child, then you can go with content child decorator. So let me go here to the child.ts. My template variable is available in parent, that is content projection, and now I am trying to access this content projection in my child component. So inside the child, let me use @content child, and which is imported from our angular/core, and this will be taking the template reference. My template reference is content projection. Let me copy this and pass here, and also let me define this variable, and this variable is one of the element ref whatever we are using. So this is a type of element ref, that means we are getting some HTML element, and it is not initialized inside the constructor, so I'm using not. So let me save this, and let me try to print this content projection variable inside our constructor and see what it happens. So let me use console.log of this dot content projection, and let me save this. If you go to the browser and once if you reload, you are getting undefined. So this template variable is giving you undefined. Why it is giving undefined? Explain you a bit in I'll explain you about this in just 2 minutes. So now let me try to access the same variable inside our onInit. This dot content projection, save this, and you are getting undefined. That means you are not able to access the content projected values or the elements inside your constructor and also inside your ngOnInit. In this case, where we can access only in a lifecycle hook which we discussed previously, that is nothing but after content init. So once the content is initialized, that means once the content projection is initialized onto your DOM, then only this lifecycle hook will be called, and it is providing us a abstract method called as ng after content in it, and inside this try to print this content projection. So this time we'll be getting the value inside the content projection. If you save this, and you can see a element reference we got, and it is having a native element that is pointing to your h1 tag. That means it is pointing to this h1 tag. Whenever you want to access a template variable which you are passing as a content projection, that variables or that elements you can access by using content child, and by this you can change anything. For example, I want to add a color for this on the load of the application. Content projected value dot native element dot style dot color is red. So whenever I'm using such things, then it will point to our element and it will change the color of that head one. Let me go here, and you can see on the load of the application, the color of the element has been changed. Let me reload, and you can see our application heading color has been changed. So this is how you can access a particular element or a template variable passed from your parent to child as a content projection value. In our previous videos, we learned about view child. Whenever you want to access a template variable which is present in the same component from your HTML into TS, then you can use view child. But the same template variable, if you are trying to pass as a content projection value, then that has to be accessed by using content child. So content child is a decorator which is used to access the template variables which are passed from our parent to the child as a content projected value. And also, if you have multiple content projected value with the same template variables, how to access it? For example, let me use the same content projection and pass it as a h2 as well. Now what it does, it will always point to the first reference. That means here the first reference is pointing to the h1 tag, so only that particular h1 tag will be changed. If you see here, only the first h1 tag is changed. Whenever it finds the same template variable, then it will not search further. Then how to point for all the template variables which are common? For example, if you want to point the content projection where it is pointing to all, then I can use content children, and this will point to your content projection. So now we will be getting a content projection value, and let me pass here. So let me save this and let me remove this. If you see this content projection, you will be getting, that means a query list you are getting. You are having a first element and the last element. If you see the last element, it is pointing to h2, and if you see the first element, it is pointing to h1. That means we have two, and the length is pointing to 2 because we have only two variables. For example, if I do the same reference variable, if I try to assign to my paragraph, then we will be getting the query list as 3. Let me go here and you can see it is pointing to the length of 3, and the last value is paragraph and the first value is h1 tag. So this is how you can use. And if you want to change all the colors of it to red, then we can just loop it by using for off, and we can pass the content projection value and we'll be getting an iterator. So let me use that console.log of iterator, and this time it is not pointing to an element ref, it is pointing to query list. So let me use query list and let me pass any. Save this, and now you are getting an iterator. Let me check the iterator value. If you see, each and every iterator value is pointing to your element ref. So if you want to assign the values, then instead of using that content projection, I can use iterator dot native element dot style dot color equal to red color. So now all the elements which are projected from my child to parent will be converted into red color. Let me go here. This is my content projected value. This is also one content projected value. This one also content projected value. And the content projected value has been displayed with the changes or the configurations which we made in our child by using content children. Content children and content child are same like view children and view child, but the only difference is content child will point to your content projected value, whereas view child will point to your template reference of the same component. And whenever you want to control this content children's, then the life cycle which we can use is after content init. And whenever you want to handle that view children, then you will be using another life cycle called as after view init. This is where the life cycle differs between view child and content child, or content children or view children. So to recap everything, content child is used to access the template reference which is passed from our parent to the child by using a template reference and as a content projected value. Whereas content children will point to all the content projected template values, and that values will be stored in your content projection, and we can iterate by using for of as content projection is a query list which is looking like an object. So that is the reason we are using for of, and we are trying to access each and every object of that particular element. Hope you like my explanation. If you like my video, like, share, subscribe to my channel for more updates. Signing off. Thank you.